the second Even-Ari Memorial Conference, 34 years after Professor Michael Even-Ari died. Professor Michael Even-Ari was born in Metz, France in 1904. He received his PhD from Frankfurt University in 1926 and taught until he left for the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in 1933. In 1951, he was nominated to be a full professor and became the head of the Department of Botany in the Hebrew University of Jerusalem until his retirement in 1973. In 1953, Professor Michael Even-Ari was elected as Vice President of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem for 7 years. Professor Michael Even-Ari died in Jerusalem in 1988 at the age of 84. Professor Michael Even-Ari was well known around the world for his achievements in his research on environmental factors affecting seed germination and survival mechanisms of plants under extreme deserts. Professor Michael Even-Ari studied the ancient run of agriculture in the Negev and reconstructed 3 ancient farms in Avdat, Meshash, and Shifta. He published 198 publications, including 22 publications that we published together. Professor Michael Even-Ari received Israel Prize and the International Balzan Prize. Professor Michael Even-Ari was one of the founders of the Desert Research Institute in 1978. Here is Professor Even-Ari and his wife, and here is myself. Professor Even-Ari make research on survival of plants under extreme desert, like Hamada scoparia shrubs that is dominated shrub on flat, less soil in the Negev highlands. And he also has done the anatomy of along the branch and the schematic draw of the structures, the anatomical structures at different parts along the stem. He also studied the shrub Zygophyllum domosum, which is dominated on southern-facing slopes in the Negev highland, and he made research on the anatomical structure of the petiole of the leaf, from the young one to the old one that exists on the plant about 2 years. This is the stomata in the different stages. He also make research on different geophytes in the Negev highlands, and and using floods water, like in Avdat runoff agriculture farm, And in this area, we also make research on seed germination and survival of annual desert plants under natural conditions. Altogether, we work together from 1962. At this time, I was a student, a research student, to 1988. The last meeting of us was 1 week before Professor Ben-Ari died. We studied the amounts of rain in winter required for germination and daily low temperatures and high relative humidity. We found that the higher the relative humidity during rains in the winter, the higher the germination of winter annual plants. During more than 55 years, I make research of different species of annual plants occurring in the Negev highlands. At the beginning, I started with Professor Ben-Ari, the stages of germination and seedling development and flowering, as well as seed development and maturation. And later on, I make research on post-seed maturation in aerial seed bank or soil seed bank. And here is the environmental factors that has influence on the different stages along the life cycle. One of the most common and with very attractive survival mechanisms is Schismus arabicus, which is a plant that survive even in very bad years with very small amounts of water. This plant inhabited many areas in the Sahara Desert and Saudi Arabia Desert, also in places that receive summer rain. As you know, in the Negev, there are only winter rains. Because of the area that, because of the plant that exists also in summer rains, we decided to do an experiment to see what is the germination and survival after summer irrigation at high temperature and low relative humidity. This is one of the plots that we irrigated the area, natural area, at the 30th of August 1977, and we checked the survival of Schismus arabicus plants 4 months later, in 26th of December 1977, before the first rain of the winter rains at the Negev highlands. These are all the treatments that we have done in the irrigation in the 30th of August 1977, equivalent to 90 millimeters of rain, 120, 150, and 200, which were given in one portion or in portions of 30 millimeters per time, or 10 millimeters, or during 9 days. As one can see, the higher the number of irrigation of 10 millimeters, the higher the average number of emergent seedlings, and the higher the average number of surviving plants at the 26th of December 1977, as well as the percentage of survival. The more times in 10 irrigation of 10 millimeters, the higher percentage of survival. The same is true if we compare all the treatment together. We found that the higher the amount of water, the higher the emergence of seedlings, and the higher the survivors. Schismus arabicus germinate and survive after 10 millimeters of winter rain, but in summer only after more than 90 millimeters of irrigation. In the Negev, there are many nights with dew that covers the plants and covers the soil surface. As we can see here, there are some nights with dew, like in June, 29 of July, that the soil surface is covered with dew for about 340 minutes, and in other occasions of 50 minutes or 120 minutes. So seeds that connect to the soil surface with their mucilaginous layer could rehydrated, and in experiment that we have done with pre-hydrated seeds, we found that even in light or in dark, they germinate much better than without pre-hydration. So we test the Aiken seedlings, the Aiken germination of Artemisia monosperma, that their seeds are connected to the soil surface by their mucilaginous layer. We, after a treatment of gamma rays that disturb the DNA, we expose the seeds to natural nights with dew at the Boker, and we found that dew may have an influence or in repairing embryo DNA in seed with mucilage or seed coat of seed adapted to desert conditions. And we published it in 1908 by Juan Daphne Osborne from Oxford University and myself. This is the name of the paper. After the Six-Day War in 1967, the Army was interested in the research of the salinities of Sinai, of the seashore of Sinai Peninsula, from Eilat to Sharm el-Sheikh and Ras Muhammad to Hammam Faroun. And it was published by Evan-Ari, Guterman, and Gavish in 1985. So we measured the perennial plants in the salinities in shallow water table or deep water table, and the root systems along the profile of the soil, and the canopy, which is covered by sand dunes, small sand dunes, as well as Salvadora, which move with the sand dune. Here you can see the remainders of the dry plant, and the sand dune with the Salvadora canopy and the root system. During these 2 years, we went to Sinai once or twice a month, and this was our hotel and our laboratory every time in another place along the seashore of Sinai Peninsula.